This phone costs less than $500, yet has a number of fantastic features and qualities that might make it my phone of the year. Not everyone has four figures burning a hole in their pocket, and given just how impressive this phone has been, I'm not sure there's anything that quite does what this can. And today, I want to talk about that. I'm sure that now you're watching this video, you'll get ads trying to sell you whatever phone I mention in the video, even if it's only for a brief moment. And that means that someone out there has your browsing data to try and get an idea of what you might be interested in buying, and well, I'm quite frankly fed up of that. It feels like the second you even think about a product, you get targeted ads, or I certainly do, and I really dislike that. And to combat this, you can actually use the Incogni service, which removes your data from the brokers that trade it. Yeah, people are trading your data. So if you sign up for Incogni with your permission, they will go through with a fine-tooth comb to find these data brokers and, using the correct legal language, request that it's deleted off of their systems. By signing up with either the link in the pinned comment or description, or by going to incogni.com/RyanThomas, you'll be served a list of these companies that have your data, along with updates on information removal requests. If you hate the idea of companies having your data as much as I do, Incogni really is worth a shot. And if you use that link and you use code RyanThomas, you'll get 60% off a yearly plan too. So big thanks to Incogni for sponsoring today's content. This has a big 3x telephoto sensor like the OnePlus 12 or 13, a big bright responsive display like any high-end phone right now, super fast 50-watt wired charging with a big 5000 mAh battery, and a few neat software features right up its sleeve. I am of course talking about the Nothing 3A Pro, and honestly, I was not expecting to enjoy this just like I have, especially at its cut down price tag. By the way, the backgrounds I'm showing off in this video are from Kuroku Studio. The link for that will be in the video description. And while you're down there, if you could hit like and subscribe, it would really mean heaps to me, trying to hit 150k by the end of the year. Cheers guys. It's worth noting almost everything I love about the 3A Pro can also be found on the standard 3A, which costs quite a bit less than this. But the telephoto camera for me actually does make quite a big difference, and so keep this all in mind throughout today's video. For reference, this phone is cheaper than your Pixel 9, OnePlus 13, actually around half of those, and still cheaper than the Pixel 9a, the 13R, what you might consider more mid-range phones. The 3A Pro is a low mid-range option, and despite that, there's a lot to like here. The design is really unique and stands out from other slab-style phones you'll find at this price, or at any price to be honest. I do like the glyph interface on the back and the faux or see-through glass back. Matched with the flat sides and the really nice buttons, it's a good feeling phone, even if it is absolutely huge. And to be honest, I do wish that the normal 3A was like a smaller one, maybe a 6.1, 6.2 inch screen, where this bigger phone can stay as the Pro. It would help differentiate the 3A and the 3A Pro a bit more, but you know, they didn't do that this time. You might have also noticed the additional side button on the right hand side. It's called the Essential Space Key, and if I said to you that it just opens an AI Notes app, you might rightly dismiss it as a bit of a gimmick, but as someone who generally dislikes AI but takes a lot of notes like a crazy person, this might be my favourite smartphone feature this year. You press it for a screenshot with text notes available, so you can just take a picture of what you're doing and add a note, or if you hold it, it will record a voice note that can then either be played back to you or transcribed with text using that aforementioned AI. So if you just forget that it has anything to do with AI, it's really useful and something that I've been using quite a bit. I am sad that there's no alert slider on this phone, and Carl Pei denied us that. I think if there was on this phone, I probably would have switched to it to be honest. But there is a sort of software solution to this in the quick settings. It is quite cool. It would be nice if other companies did this, because I feel like it wouldn't be that expensive to implement. Just a software slider inside the quick settings. I mean, every phone seems to already have a profile selection in there anyway, so why not make it a slider? And I do like the software here in general. It's not bogged down with loads of extras or tools. It does the basics, and I think that it matches the stripped down hardware and should in theory free up more internal storage and keep the phone feeling a little bit fresher for longer, being a more lightweight piece of software, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. because though I do like the 128 or 256 gig options on offer here, although there's no SD card expansion, the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 isn't exactly rapid. It feels quick to use, and for general day-to-day browsing, honestly, I have zero deal-breaking concerns about this. It's a very nice chip. It can even run 3D games, so you're not limited to just a few things you can do on your phone. It's still relatively quick. It's still 2025 performance, but on paper and even in benchmarks compared to like the likes of the Pixel 9a, which was never really meant to be the craziest, fastest phone on the planet, this still trails behind it by some margin. So I think for the sort of person looking for a phone at this price, a cheaper Android phone, the speed here is more than enough. But those super users are either going to want to pony up for a higher end model or go with last year's flagships to save some money, like I've spoken about more recently. Mid-range phones tend to struggle in the camera department unless you've bought a Pixel, and though the 3A does tend to overexpose its shots quite a bit at times, generally remedied by just tapping and bringing the exposure down in the camera app when you take the photo, I really do like the primary and telephoto cameras on offer here. They have pretty big sensors, plenty of pixels, and can and do capture a good amount of detail in most scenarios. The color science probably could use some work if I'm honest, and I do wonder if and when nothing collabs with a camera company like a Leica or a Hasselblad, like the other Chinese phone makers have been doing these days in order to rectify the color science. But having essentially the same kind of 3x telephoto that you'll find in a OnePlus 12 or 13 in a phone this affordable, for me does help counteract its downfalls. There's a good amount of natural bokeh without the need to use any kind of portrait mode. I found the video quality to also be pretty decent. It's not amazing, and it's actually Ultra HD 4K 30p instead of 60. I think that's because of the chip, not actually because of the camera sensors. And though the 8 megapixel ultra wide is certainly a cut corner and it's something you can really start to see in sort of lower light conditions, I do at least appreciate the option and the ability to capture just a larger field of view. I've been hammering Apple, Samsung, Google for not implementing faster charging in their $1,000+ phones, and I will continue to do that until they bring us charging into the 2025 era and not from 2015. But here on this device, at half the cost of those, you get 50 watt wired charging, which takes the phone's 5000 mAh battery, pretty big battery, from 0 to 100 in just shy of an hour. That's all I'm asking for, guys. That's all I want from my $1,000+ phone, and yet the Nothing has done it for less than that. You don't get wireless charging, but honestly I don't really care, given this phone is easily an all-day phone for me, actually sometimes 2 days. If you're a lighter user, you will get 2 days out of this. It doesn't really drain power, and given it's not a powerful chip in the first place, you're less likely to be gaming on it all day. But yeah, there's not much else to say on the Nothing 3A Pro battery situation. It's very good. It's an example of how you do it right. I've heard people say that this phone's screen really impressed them, and whilst I do think it's good, I'm not sure it's really blown me away. It's 120Hz, so it's nice and smooth, and it gets decently bright, but isn't really breaking records from what I can work out. It's not insane. What I think is far more interesting actually is how Nothing has sorted its software on here. It comes with Android 15 and is due 3 years of version upgrades, which is pretty good, but then a further 3 years of security patches, which is also very good. A good deal for the money if you ask me, and that's before we even talk about the fact that Nothing has enabled bootloader unlocking on this model, and so in sort of 5 or 6 years time, if you wanted to install something like Lineage to keep it going, then you could absolutely do that. Bravo once again to Nothing. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as Sly Stallone would say. The in-display fingerprint reader can be a little bit finicky at times. The flat sides on a phone this big are just not it for me, although this is a more general market thing and not specific to Nothing. But yeah, this is kind of an unwieldy phone at times. And I do feel the phone's starting to stutter at times. It's not a complete crash, it's not a deal breaker, but you do start to feel the slower chip the more you use it. And I think for the money and for the rest of the package, that's just something I can look past, but it is worth noting in this video. I recently read a comment stating that the 3A series has actual personality, and I have to agree with that. This phone isn't just another phone. Sure, it might lack the big ticket features or performance, but you know what? It's actually really interesting. From the software quirks and the redesigns that I think make it a really fresh phone to feel, to the hardware design that certainly stands out against, well, practically everything on the market, to the notes button that actually helps people with awful memory, like myself, seamlessly take down notes with just a button on the phone. It just makes a lot of sense. All for a price that, whilst, certainly isn't cheap by any kind of standards, is a darn sight less than the most talked about phones on the internet. I was never particularly stricken by the original Nothing or even the second generation devices, but this has to be one of my absolute favourite phones this year. The Nothing Phone 3A is a niche mid-ranger that has actual personality, and though it has some very obvious pitfalls, its quirks and benefits are absolutely worth it for me.